Hey everybody, it's Eric alongside Rod live after Michigan State's home season opener against the Colgate Raiders. MSU won 80-69. We'll get into our analysis in just a minute. If you're joining us on YouTube or X or Instagram, please drop a comment telling us where you are. Really appreciate to kind of know where everyone's coming from. Also curious if you're at the game or just watching at home. Special thanks again to Michael Yoakum, who sent a one-time support to the show via PayPal. If you'd like to support the show, go to our support page at tffinots.com/support. If you do it on a recurring basis through Patreon or Substack, I will send you along an audio ad-free version of the show. Another reminder, the deadline for the Beat Rod contest is coming up on December 1st. So you have 1 month to enter. In order to do that, send an email to me, Eric, at tffinots.com with your picks of the final Big Ten standings 1 to 18, and as a tiebreaker, how many points Michigan State scores in their two matchups against Michigan. No charge. And the top two will come away with prizes from our awesome Spartan apparel sponsor, Nudge Printing. Okay, Rod, the big news for our families that some season tickets opened up last week, allowing us to move down into the lower bowl. So we moved down out of the balcony. We will miss our friend and faithful listener, Bruce, who has been by us all this time. So it's kind of hard to turn down the seats, though. So now we're a long ways away from that heckler who is bothering us for so many years. So he is long gone. and he is and there's no heckler around us. So anyway, it's pretty good. We're back in the end zone, but they're actually pretty good seats down in the lower bowl. It's amazing how much difference it makes getting down off the balcony. All right. So as for the game, I guess I'd say it was a little uninspiring. Maybe certainly some good things that Michigan State did, but overall against a team they should have been able to overwhelm. They really didn't manage to do it too well. I mean, it wasn't until the middle of the second half, I think, when they really pulled away from a clearly inferior opponent. Poor free throw shooting, poor jump shooting, pretty leaky defense, especially in the first half of points, and even in the second half. Kept the game way closer than it should have been. It ended up being an 11-point win, but if not for obliterating Colgate on the boards, I mean, this would have been quite a nail biter. And the halftime lead was only 3 with a score of 37-34. I think maybe it was halfway through the second half that Colgate managed to tie it up, and it wasn't until sort of finally Michigan State just completely destroyed them on the boards late in the second half, and they just kind of overwhelmed them for a little bit. A couple steals, pulled away a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, there were some good things. It wasn't all negative, but it wasn't the performance you kind of hope for, I think, after the 2 exhibition games.
No, but it's not surprising. I think what's become obvious over the 2 exhibition games and now this game is that this team, the biggest issue of the 3 you mentioned is the defensive end. And it's also the one that I have, maybe paradoxically, have the most faith in seeing significant improvement. But it's going to take time. So why do I say that? It's pretty clear to me this is not a connected group. Last year's team, even though it didn't get off to a gangbusters start, it took them about 3 weeks to really find themselves. I think you still saw the effect of having that trip to Spain and the impact that all of that had on them, and especially on the defensive end. I just think right now it looks, somebody said this on the Spartan Mag board, and I agree. It looks like a lot of guys who haven't played together.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
In a system, like, not all the time, there's certain lineups that don't look that way, but it takes time to, especially a system the way Michigan State plays it with so much switching. There's a trust you have to develop in your teammates, that your teammate's going to be responsible, and that has an impact on what you can do as a defender, And just too often, that communication, that even unspoken communication, isn't where it needs to be just yet. I will say this. Colgate, we mentioned in the preview, when they've been good, for the most part, they've had very, very efficient offenses. And you could see why. That's also a team that has a lot of guys back, and then they also brought in a lot of freshmen. The big kid freshman, he gave Michigan, I didn't look at what he ended up with scoring-wise, but he gave Michigan State a tough night. That's going to be a hell of a player for them, their big kid. But
Alexis Yanko, or is that what you're talking about? Olekisienko?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He was a load. They
Yeah.
didn't guard him well. Let me look what he ended up scoring.
14
Yeah, he had
points.
14.
Yeah.
It seemed
Led
like
the team.
more than
Oh,
that.
no, he's second in the team in scoring.
Seemed
6
like
of 12
more
from the
than that.
field. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's where I expect there to be steady improvement as we go. But you saw, I'm sure it infuriated people. I haven't even looked at the Spartan Mag board to see it. There was a moment in that second half, and the timing could not have been worse. I understand Izzo's mindset. I get it. Could not have been worse. Michigan State got it out to a 15-point lead finally.
Yes.
And Jeremy Fears needed a break. He played 34 minutes, so he needed to sit. I'm going to think I'm probably right about this. Tom Izzo was not happy about the way Divine Ugachukwu was playing, particularly defensively. And instead, he inserted Denim Wojcik. And immediately, Michigan State's lead went down to 9. Not all Wojcik's fault by any means.
I don't think much of it was, but yeah.
Well, he had one bad pass to Cohen Carr. He threw a fastball when he was about 5 feet away from him. But that was it. But Jeremy Fears was the best player on that floor tonight, by far.
Yeah.
And those few moments he was off the floor, including that segment, you saw Michigan State really suffer for it. I think that will. I have confidence in Divine Ugachukwu becoming an effective player for Michigan State. But you see, Tom Izzo is still going to use playing time to teach. That's the bottom line. And you saw it tonight. What kept this game closer than it should have been, you could say the 3-point shooting. They were 6 for 21. I think they were 3 of their first 4. And then it was rough after that. But I will say, when I say rough, actually they were taking good shots, and a lot of those were in and out. It didn't look as bad as we saw at times in the exhibition games. But the free throw shooting just
was dreadful.
It cannot continue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 2 exhibition games, and now this. Izzo says they've been drilling it in practice. I believe it. I absolutely believe it, because I've seen these guys. I've seen Cohen Carr shoot 70%. I've seen Jaxon Kohler and Carson Cooper make all the free. The only guy who's feeling ultra confident right now is Jeremy Fears. That's it.
Yep.
So somehow, some way, and I'm not. When I see dope, so I'm like, gotta hire a shooting coach. Shut up.
They need new tennis shoes. Maybe that's the problem.
They're working on it. Every team works on free throw shooting. It's part of how you practice. Okay. But somehow, some way, the results need to be better. That much I can agree on. The solution for it is not what dummies think it is, but it has to be better, because this would have easily, it ended up an 11-point game. Michigan State shoots free throws even halfway decently. They win it by 20.
Yeah, they should at least another 10.
And that's about what the difference was in this game between those two teams. I think Colgate's a solid team for their level. They're picked 3rd in their league in preseason. From what I saw, I see no reason to think that that's wrong. But Michigan State was at least 20 points better than they were tonight. But it didn't show up because Michigan State didn't cash in the free throw opportunities they had. That's a real good way to hold down shrink a gap rather, between two teams, is you foul them because you can't guard them, and then they miss free throws. And that's what happened. But I do think if we're viewing this properly, there were some real positives to take into account as well. You start with, I already mentioned, Jeremy Fears, best player on the floor.
Yep.
The point total is fine, and he ended up with 14, I think.
4 of 10 from the field.
Yeah. And 6 free throw attempts. So he continues to remain aggressive, but 10 assists to 1 turnover and 5 steals. That's
5 rebounds.
That too. I'll take all of that away. He is the emotional leader of this team. He ran the team. I thought he did a good job of pushing. I didn't see yet what Michigan State's
20 to 4.
Transition points
20 to 14 edge.
That's
Pretty
solid.
close.
20 fast break points is a good number, though.
Yep. I think that's right, too.
Yeah. He had a great game. You know, there's just no two ways about it. And that's important. Michigan State, I think we all felt coming into the season, everybody who's a Michigan State fan understood Jeremy Fears has to be a more consistently impactful player than he was last year. I thought he did a lot of good things last year, a lot. Yeah. But there were games where he wasn't scoring much. There were games when, you know, he was more or less involved with running the team, depending on the game flow, all of that stuff. This team can't afford it. This team has got to have him playing at a high level. And he did tonight. I was really impressed with his game. I think the other guy that across the board can feel good about his game was Jaxon Kohler. 16 and 15. That's doing some work. And you just see, I think we're seeing, you know, for as good a rebounder as he was last year, and I'm not just saying this because he's coming off a 15 rebound game, I think he's going to be better. And I think part of that reason is his motor has always been really good. He's really always been a high activity guy, but it's at a different level. And it's because he's gotten his body into just great condition. You look at him now, like last year, it was noticeable he'd slimmed down. He was never like in terrible shape, but he gradually had honed his body. But this year it's another level. Mm-hmm. Like he looks like, you know, like a Bo Ryan, Wisconsin big. That's what he looks like, you know, and with that going along with his skill set, man, he is going to be a problem for Big Ten teams to deal with. So I was really happy with the way he played individually.
I mean, he played 31 minutes, to your point. I mean, so the 15 rebounds, you could say, well, that's because he played more minutes, and that's absolutely true. But he was effective during those 31 minutes, right? And that's the difference. He wasn't just out there taking up space.
Yep. And then I really hats off to the two freshmen. Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought they both. Jordan Scott played 18 minutes. I think we're already seeing that any of the preseason thoughts about, well, how big a role is he going to play? Is he going to play much more than cameos? That's dead. And you see why. He's a skilled guy, but we haven't even really seen his skill set fully show up yet. He's a very good shooter. He will shoot the three better than we've seen thus far. I'm confident in that. But man, the energy level. Just he is on the floor and things happen. He makes things happen. 6 rebounds tonight. I mean, how
many were offensive? 4 of them offensive, right? Or I guess 2 on that one. The same free throw.
2 offensive
possession or something. Yeah.
2 offensive, 6 points, 6 boards, had an assist. Just the effort level I loved.
Yeah.
And then Cam Ward, a little less spectacular. He only played 10 minutes, which was a little bit surprising, but ended up with 5 points, 4 rebounds. All of his were offensive. And there were some great individual plays on those offensive rebounds. So again, effort level. If he shot free throws better, he would have had a really nice night. He was only 1 for 5 at the line. Could have easily been close to double-digit night for him scoring-wise. But those 2 guys already, I just, speaking for myself, I feel very confident when they're on the floor. I think they bring energy that this team can use. And great start for both of them. Not perfect, but exactly what you want to see out of them. I thought that was all really, really impressive. I guess other notes, you know, the 2 spot, we still don't have a firm determiner there other than I think defensive issues are still present. Good to see Curtain hit a couple threes. Mm-hmm. Although that was important.
He had some rebounds. He played, he was more impactful this game. 3 rebounds.
Yeah, barely. I'm still not happy with what we're seeing. Really, I mean, he had 3
Yeah.
rebounds.
Well, he was better in the first half than the second, I think.
He
His
was.
first stint.
He was.
Yeah.
He faded in the second half for sure, and that kept his minutes down.
Mhm.
But a good start. Look, the bottom line is if he's hitting threes, you can play him.
Mhm.
You can play him to some degree. If he's not, you can't play him. Not right now. That's my 2 cents. That's not Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo is going to keep working. I know that.
Yeah.
To try to find an answer to get him over the hump in these other areas, but he's still not bringing it defensively. He's still not doing enough other things. Trey Fort, there are mistakes that get made. But I'll tell you what, I like his energy level a lot better. What do you end up with? 9 points tonight?
Yes, 9 points, 2 for 6, 2 for 5 from 3.
Yeah, and that's
3 out of 3 in the line.
Three rebounds as well. I think sooner or later, I don't know how soon, but I think Trey's going to be the starter. I mean, I'm convinced of that now. Not unless Kurtang just really just turns it around. And I think that may be best because the offense feels they're much tougher to guard when Trey Fort's out there because he can do more. Yeah. You can put the ball in his hands, in a way you can't with Kerr. I think Kerr, I'm not saying he deserves to be out of the rotation or anything. There are things he could do to help you, but I think they're the kind of things that maybe are suited better to a guy coming in off the bench. Look, I'll return to something we talked about in the preview. Jim Comparoni talked about. Izzo's not going to just hand Trey Fort that role. Hell, at the rate it's going, he might start Jordan Scott.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked.
No, I wouldn't either. Because Jordan Scott is giving you the thing that they're not getting enough of from the other 2 guys. And that's just full tilt effort and toughness.
Yeah.
He is combative when he's out there. And it's so funny. You go back and you think about what were the concerns when he was recruited? Well, he's going to need some time to get stronger. He's going to need some time to adjust to playing at the Big Ten level with the physicality and everything. That is in the rearview mirror after 3 games, 2 of them exhibitions. It's done. Jordan Scott is ready. He is ready. Now, that doesn't mean it's all going to be beautiful. There'll be rough moments. I'm sure of that. But I do not expect him to have the impact that Jace Richardson had. That's obvious statistically.
Yeah.
But there are similarities here in that you're seeing a guy who just is better to start with, is better than people expected, but is displaying in a different way. Jace's maturity was just in how smooth he was. Everything just looked under control.
Yeah.
At all times, he was calm, never rushed. Jordan's not that. Jordan it's much more ball of energy.
Yeah, a little frenetic.
Put him out there, let him go knock around. He's going to find ways to make plays. And, he did it.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of maturity too, though, that some guys have to. I mean, I think Kurtang, this is the case with him. He's got to yet learn how hard he has to play. The effort stuff has got to be there, and Jordan's already got that. So that's a sign of maturity in a way there too. But in any event, I do think it's going to be Trey Fort's starting role. If anything, I want to see Trey be a little more assertive in terms of looking to get his own offense. I don't know that he's taking enough shots because he's a shot maker. He's a playmaker. I thought Carson Cooper had a decent night. I don't know what his 28 minutes. What do you end up with? So
6 rebounds,
10 points, 6 boards. Solid effort. Showed off a little bit of that new range. He hit a baseline jumper that was nice.
Yep.
I don't think it was his best night overall. I think defensively, Michigan State, as we talked about, was disjointed. I don't put much of that on Coop because, as I've said many times, he's their best interior defender. But he's got to be better. When you have trouble on the perimeter the way they did in switching and containing guys and locating and closing on guys, part of that's on him too. So decent night, not his best night. Jesse McCulloch didn't get a lot of minutes. He did hit one jumper. I know Izzo was unhappy in a segment with his defense, and that may be why he didn't play more than 6 minutes. And I don't think he saw the floor in the second half, did he?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. But he'll have better nights. That takes care of it individually. Overall, I thought offensively, look, you have to like the aggression that Michigan State's playing with.
Yeah. That's a reflection of Jeremy more than anything, obviously.
It is, but not just him. He only had 6 free throw attempts. There were a lot of other guys who had free throw attempts. That's where you see it showing up.
Yeah. You saw it with Ward for sure. Yeah.
They're trying to play downhill, and they're competing on the offensive glass, all of that stuff. So that's encouraging. The transition game, 20 points I'm not going to complain about. That's a solid night's work. And then you look at the negatives. You got to cash in your free throw opportunities better. You're certainly going to hope that the 3-point shooting gets better from here. It was a great start, and then for the next 37 minutes, not so good. So a little bit better there, hopefully. Defense got better in the second half. The one thing that they did unquestionably, we'll return to this in more detail in a minute when we talk about the keys. They absolutely obliterated this team on the glass. That was good to see, frankly. After 2 games where I thought they only, 80 minutes of play in the exhibitions, I thought they rebounded well for about 12 of them. That was really encouraging to see.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of took it to him the whole game. There wasn't really any let up on the boards this whole game. Some comments, some sort of observation I had too. So one is, I see since they're a little bit closer, I feel like I have a better feel for sort of the physical aspect of the game. Jordan Scott is just really long. Like he just looks.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, I know he is 6'9", right? But he's just the energy. He's just getting the balls, tapping them out on tap outs, and some of those free throws was very impressive. Cam Ward's ability to drive. I mean, we knew this coming into the season that he had that his skill set. But to see him do that as a freshman is pretty impressive. I mean, I think he did it once or twice.
Yeah,
he was able to put the ball on the floor and get to the hole, which is impressive. The one thing I would say about Carr, and I know that Izzo did not mention this, but I felt like he sometimes relies a little bit too much. I think they had some trouble in the switches because he was a little bit out of position. I think because he just expects to be able to kind of catch up to people. And I feel we've seen that sometimes with Michigan State. We have these really good athletes. And I think Akins was like this his first year or two when he was playing a lot, that he wasn't quite as sound as he probably should have been. But I think that's something that'll get fixed. And then the other thing I would say about Colgate, not to, lavish praises on them, but they have really good, I mean, that's a really tricky offense. I mean, it's very complicated. I mean, there's lots of switching all over the place, for ball screens everywhere. All 5, and all those 5 guys are dangerous from scoring for the most part. And it makes it tricky. And they were pretty good at forcing mismatches, or at least finding someone when there's a, I guess I'd say overall Michigan State's penetration defense was pretty good. I don't think there were a whole lot of times that Colgate was able to get in and cause a lot of trouble there, but just put all their switches
better
trouble on the perimeter.
Better in the second half.
For sure.
I didn't think it was great in the first.
Yeah. But still Colgate shot great even in the second half. I mean,
they did
great, but they still shot like 40-some%.
They did
in the second half.
That is a disciplined offensive team that runs good stuff. You're right. But hey, they're going to see teams that run good stuff in the Big Ten, right?
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
You're not where you need to be. That much is obvious. Now, again, I'm not panicked about that because I think with this group, it's going to take some time. Even with that starting lineup with 4 guys who should be pretty solid, the 5th guy, whoever's at the 2, is a new guy, and that's where there are some problems right now. One weak link can be an issue, even when the whole group overall is better than that would suggest. But I guess we had talked about Cohen, and we should. 12 points, 4 rebounds. It wasn't a bad effort from him.
There's more there, right?
Oh, a lot more.
Yeah.
And
I think it's coming. I think
he had a
it's
tough night. He had a tough night finishing. There were some plays at the basket that I thought he should have finished through contact.
Yeah.
Or that he didn't. That was frustrating. But yeah, not a terrible night, except that I will say this. The free throw thing, he sorely needs a good night.
Yes.
I have no difficulty believing he's shooting it well in practice. We saw him shoot 70% last year.
Yeah.
But this is going to become a problem.
Yep.
And it's going to become a problem because with how important he is to what they do and the way he plays, he's going to continue to get opportunities. So he needs to get this just for his own sake, his head, but also for the team's sake. It's too important. You can't leave this many points on the table the way they are. And Cohen's a big part of that. So, yeah. Well, I mean, it's officially contact, right? Yeah. It's officially serious. In my view.
Because it counted for real.
He needs to be better.
Yep. I trust that he will be, just because he was able to do it last year. It's hard to imagine he'd revert this far, but
I will tell you,
it does become a mental thing, right? I mean, that's the whole deal.
What concerns me, though, is, and this is just me, right now, these are not, the ball just won't go down. They're in and out. No, they're bad misses.
Yeah, his were bad. Yeah, he was way off. Yeah.
Yep. So somehow, and I don't think that means, his mechanics are okay. I don't think it's that. He just, right now, I think he's in his own head about it. That would be my guess. And that's got to change.
Yep.
You're not going to win the next game if you shoot free throws like this. That much I know. You're not going to beat Arkansas if you do that.
Hey, the same comment that, if you're shooting free throws worse than I did at the Breslin, then you've got a serious problem. I shot about 60% my free throw competition. So you got to do better than that. And then one other quick thing is Jim McKay mentioned too, but that was a great play you saw the back and forth action between Jordan Scott and Kohler in that one play where Scott finally forced that double team, threw back to Kohler, and the defense was slow rotating back, which, they would naturally be.
Yep. 2-man game on the baseline.
So, showing some really good chemistry and, again, potential, I think, for
he's a combination. You have to love the combination. He's got great physical tools with his length. You talked about that. We know that even though it hasn't fully shown up yet, he's a very skilled player. And he's a smart player. You saw it evidenced in that play you're talking about. And then add in how hard he's playing. I mean, Jordan Scott is showing enough that I don't think it's hyperbolic to suggest this is a guy who could be a star at Michigan State. Not now. I'm not saying that for his freshman year, but he's a guy who could be a starter. He's a guy who could be a very, very good Big Ten player if this keeps up. If he just keeps on the same where he's at right now and just stays on this path. Because as I say, the skill stuff is going to show.
Yeah.
Eventually. You combine that with how hard he plays and his size, his height, his length. Whew. Look out. I mean, Michigan State has had a lot of guards in recent years who were very good players, right? Tyson Walker was a very good player. A.J. Hogard had his moments. The guys last year. Take Jace Richardson out of it. None of them really NBA players because they didn't have those kind of physical tools, right? Jordan Scott has that. I'm not yet projecting him to be an NBA player, but he might be. And the reason you could say that is he at least has the physical tools that they look for.
Right.
And so you put all that, like Max Christie. I mean, there's a reason why we would all say, Tyson Walker had a much better Michigan State career than Max Christie did, right?
Yep.
Not even close. Well, which one's in the NBA?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And that's Jordan Scott's got those kind of tools. No question.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you who has the best tools. If you need gutter work done, you should contact the Brez Just Do Gutters. Those guys can take care of anything. Greg actually just sent me a message that Greg Asaf is a rabid fan and of the show. I had him stop by, look for some gutter work at his house. So, Greg, thanks for listening. Also, you've made the right choice. Brothers Just Do Gutters do fantastic work. They can take care of whether it's just cleaning it out, change the work in the downspouts, work in the gutters, whether it's your home or your business, whatever it might be, they can take care of it on the east side or the west side of the state. To find ways to contact them, head on over to our support page at the Final Four is not the schedule.com/support. There you can get a hold of Greg, Kurt, or Greg. You get 10% off if you mention Final Four when you get your estimate. They'll take care of you. And so they sponsored the player that Michigan State to keep in the gutter, and that was Jalen Cox. He scored 12 points. He was 5 of 6 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3. Didn't hit any free throws, had 8 defensive rebounds, 7 assists, 4 turnovers, a steal in the block. This is a guy they had pretty much contained. I don't think he had hardly any points at halftime. He really had like 5 rebounds. That was about his only stat, maybe a couple assists at halftime. And then he started scoring a little bit in the second half, hit a couple threes, and got a couple layups and stuff. So I don't know. What do you think? Was he kept in the gutter? Sort of, kind of. I don't feel like he's a guy who hurt them particularly. Not like some of the other ones.
It's hard to say that they did, because you look at everything he contributed. 12 points, and it was efficient. He only missed 1 from the floor. Now, I will say this: limiting him to 6 field goal attempts and nothing at the line, that was almost certainly not the Colgate game plan.
Right.
So they did a decent job there in 33 minutes to limit the number of attempts. But then you factor in he had 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He did have 4 turnovers, but I'd say he had a decent game. Obviously, they needed him to do more as a scorer. So give Michigan State credit for that they were at least able to limit the number of looks he got. I think it ended up helping his team. You look at how much they got done in switching, let's say, on the how much they were able to exploit on the perimeter kind of inversion offense where they have big guys shooting. That was a problem. Michigan State really struggled to guard that. But, kind of hard to say 12, 8, and 7, and you've kept them in the gutter. I don't know that I can say that.
All right, so then moving on to a player who's cleans the glass best brought to you by the Squeegee Squad of Grand Rapids. Friends, if you need your windows clean your home or just power washing your home, contact the Squeegee Squad. They're going to do great work. I'm going to get in trouble if I don't contact them pretty soon. My wife's going to get upset. I need to take care of that before it gets too cold here. So contact them today. Make sure you take care of things. They'll clean the glass. Actually, if anything, we have our cottage and their windows are terrible. So now I have to do it myself because there's no Squeegee Squad because it's not in Grand Rapids. So don't be like me. If you're in the Grand Rapids area, make sure you contact Troy and his team. They'll take great care of you. You get 15% off if you mention Final Four when you get your estimate. And you can do that, of course, at our support page, tffinots.com/support. Do it today. You'll be glad you did. So who cleans the glass best is the first game of the season. I don't have the score up there because I had Kohler, who just single-handedly just obviously won it. So he had 15 rebounds. So I ended up with adding Warden. I ended with 19. Cooper and Carr had 10. So I'm up 1-0. I don't know. I mean, we might have to do 1-on-3. So someone gets Kohler, someone gets 3 other players if this continues.
It was pretty impressive by Jaxon. He kind of found himself, I think, in the latter stages of the Connecticut game.
Yep.
Rebounding wise, because he had 10 in the Bowling Green game, and I said it a few times. I don't know how he got 10. It didn't really feel that way to me. I didn't think he played at that level. But the UConn game, he really came on late. And then this one, he was just a dominant force. I mean, that's impressive stuff. 7 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You can have good players where it takes them 3 games to get that. So good stuff from him. I was impressed.
Yeah, he had more than twice the offensive rebounds the entire Colgate team. So that's impressive performance. All right, moving on to another place we get some impressive performance. That would be the Nudge Printing. If you want graded apparel, head on over to nudgeprinting.com. Long-time sponsor for the show. They have fantastic Spartan apparel and any other sort of school too in the state of Michigan, outside of the University of Michigan. You can get the vintage stuff. You can get current logos. Pretty much any sport is there. Basketball, hockey, football, golf. I mean, anything you want they've got. And of course, anything as far as t-shirts and hoodies and quarter zips and hats and jackets, we got a ton of stuff. My daughter just actually is asking she keeps stealing my wife's sweatshirt. So now I've got to get her a sweatshirt. So I'll have to head back over to Nudge to get her some more stuff. So head on over today. You'll be glad you did. 20% off if you type in Final Four, just as one word at checkout. And of course, Nudge Printing is the ones that provide the prizes for our contests, including the Beat Rod contest, which you should enter because it costs nothing. All right. So the first key to the game was the boards. And just looking over the numbers, we already talked about this, is Michigan State dominated here. They were 19 offensive rebounds in 35 misses, which gives them a 54% offensive rebounding rate. Right. Now, my wife pointed out to me, she's like, it's actually not that high because they were getting offensive rebounds off free throws. So those count as free throws. So I'm like, yes, I understand. You're right. That not every, thing that, and unfortunately, Michigan State had that many misses on the free throw line. But, and then on the other end, we hoped that they would dominate the defensive end. They had every reason to. And they had a 90% defensive rebounding rate. So, yeah. I mean, they just totally destroyed Colgate there, which we expected. But how many times 2, 3, 4 years ago would they have these teams come in who couldn't offensive rebound? They're like in the 300s for offensive rebound, and they come in and they hit Michigan State for like a 30% offensive rebound rate. So it didn't happen today. Michigan State, I think overall rebounding, I didn't write down the overall rebounding edge. Obviously, from a total rebounding, Michigan State obviously won this as well.
Yeah, massive performance. And really, it's what won this game. On a night where you shoot free throws miserably, you're not great shooting the ball from the floor. Your defense is kind of spotty. That's it. That's where they won the game. Yeah. It was that. I mean, if you look at that difference, so a 19-3 edge in offensive rebounds, and then you combine it with a 10-13, so a 3 turnover edge there. Yeah. That's 19 extra scoring chances.
Well, yeah,
Michigan State. They didn't even take. That's the thing. Normally, you have something like that, you're winning by 25. It's that they did such a poor job of cashing in so many of those chances with the free throw shooting, that it kept it relatively close. But be that as it may, I was really encouraged to see this because those first 2 games, they just really hadn't shown up. And look, Colgate's never been a good offensive rebounding team under this regime. So it's not a surprise Michigan State would dominate the defensive glass, but a 90% defensive rebound rate, that's a little better than I would have been happy if it was 75. I would have said good effort if it was 75. 90, crazy. And then the offensive end, not going to be many more games you have a 54% offensive rebounding rate.
No.
That's crazy good.
And we stated that this is actually a pretty good defensive rebounding team too.
Yes.
I mean, not that we expect,
historically they are under this coach. Yes. Absolutely. And that's important to note. And again, Colgate, they weren't a huge team, but they had decent size out there.
They had size,
Michigan State, positionally, they had size, on the wings, backcourt, and then, of course, inside, they didn't have any 7-footers that they played, but they were big and they were physical enough that it wasn't just Michigan State. Of course, they were just overwhelming the opponent physically. No, Michigan State earned that edge with their activity level, how hard they worked. So I was really happy to see that. That was progress.
Well, then we have the free throw lines, which at many points of the game was in the 50% mark. Fortunately, Jeremy Fears had 6 free throws and he hit all 6 of his. I think Ford hit all 3 of his. Outside of that, everybody else contributed to the misery that happened tonight. It ended up 65%, which is, I suppose, not disaster. I mean, that's probably like the very bottom edge of what's kind of semi-acceptable. But to your point, that's the difference between winning by, you expect to probably hit another 6 or 7 this game. 18-point margin. It's, kind of a laugher, but it wasn't.
Let's look at how this team is put together. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We do not expect it. I expect them to shoot the 3 better than they did tonight, but this isn't a team we're going to expect. They're not going to make you forget about the 15-16 team. They're not going to do that. So how are they going to score? They're going to score, obviously, by playing in transition, but they're also going to have to score by doing something they did very well last year, which is being aggressive and assertive offensively and trying to play downhill. And also, of course, the usual activity on offensive rebounding and all of that or around the rim.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to lead to foul calls, and that is going to lead to free throw opportunities. Last year's team won in part. One of the factors was they got fouled a lot and they made their free throws.
Right.
So if this team is once again getting fouled a lot, but they're not hitting free throws, that's a problem.
Yep.
And it's got to be better. I mean, you're right. The final number, 65%, is not good by any means. You shoot that across the course of a season, you're going to be right down at the bottom of the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it wasn't just, oh my God, they were 12 for 40. It wasn't that. But it was only 65% because Jeremy Fears got some opportunities late.
Right.
So got to get better. Bottom line.
All right, so let's move on.
And the disappointing part, just one more thing.
Sure.
The disappointing part to me right now, early on, is that guys who made huge strides last year, Cohen Carr, Carson Cooper being two of them, have been a little rough to begin with. That's got to get better. Both those guys are going to get their opportunities because of the way they play, the positions they play. Got to be better.
Yeah. I mean, that was a big, huge thing with Carson missed. He only hit one of those on that intentional foul. Then I think they turned the ball over or something like that. And so it was kind of really disappointing 1 point possession where you could have, really sort of run that lead out a little bit further too.
Yeah.
But moving on then to the third key to the game, which was transition. And I think we already talked about this. Michigan State had a 20-14 edge here. And I felt like there were probably 3 or 4 transition buckets, like off of makes from Colgate.
Yep.
Where they just blitzed right down. And I don't know if they showed on TV, but the Colgate coach, I thought he was going to rip his hair out. He was so fresh. There's one where it was a layup. I think it was like 3 seconds after they just scored.
Unfortunately, because you're dealing with a student production, even though they're Michigan State students and they should know better, but frequently those plays happened without you even being able to see it.
Oh, right.
Because they're too busy running a replay of something. They don't realize is anybody doing a Michigan State broadcast, you can't afford to do that because you're going to miss action. We had talked about the fact that you could spend a lot of time preparing your team, talking to them, all of that about what it's like to face Michigan State's transition game. But it is another animal when you are dealing with it in the flesh. And that's exactly what we saw.
Yep.
We saw Michigan State, I think, do a pretty good job of taking advantage of that. As you say, you saw it better than we did watching on television, that it probably frustrated their coaching staff because they'd say to themselves, what do we spend 20 minutes at practice every day talking about?
Yeah.
It's a different thing when you're not used to facing it.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. I mean, rebounding for sure was the good thing that came out of this. Like the other thing team-wide was the transition game was solid. I will say you don't want to give up 14 transition points to the opponent. And Colgate's not really a running team, so that's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah. Well, there were kind of some scrambles, or I want to see off steals. Man, there's just some weird times when they got some buckets that way. And the thing that I think I've mentioned this before, I'm not sure when, but that the underappreciated thing with Cohen Carr, everyone talks about his leaping ability. It's the most obvious thing. He is super fast.
Yep.
He is such an
long strider too.
Yeah, I mean, he really just gets down the court in a hurry. You get him the ball.
He's really, that's something that is so underrated. It doesn't get talked about nearly enough. How difficult it is and how much of a learning curve there is for guys when they come into this program to learn how you have to run those lanes.
Yeah.
Cohen Carr is significantly better now than he was as a freshman at that. I don't know that he's any better athletically, but he's better in transition now than he was as a freshman. So if it's not just athleticism, what improves? Well, it's understanding when you're supposed to go. It's understanding your role and maximizing your physical effort to get down that floor as fast as possible. So,
yeah, very impressive. And yeah, he definitely was a bigger emphasis in the second half attacking the basket, both he and Jeremy. Of course, the highlight was the pass off the backboard for a dunk. That's something I don't know that I've seen that. Maybe I've seen it once or twice before Michigan State. I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's a very big one where Denzel Valentine did it to Brandon Dawson at Texas,
right,
in a game Michigan State won. That was we've seen it many times.
All right, so the next key of the game is jump shooting. We already talked about this. Is also a problem for Michigan State. Colgate shot almost 40% from three, but Michigan State shot 39% from three. Again, like you said, they were really good out of the gate, and then just went down. I always am careful. I temper myself now. Before I get real excited, I'm like, oh, right, they're hitting some threes finally. So now people stop talking about it. I just get out of my head because I've seen too many times where it's like it looks good and then just kind of just fizzles.
I'll tell you what I was disappointed by in this area. I thought in the first half, it didn't really show up so much in the second half because they took fewer. But the first half, they went through a stretch where just because you're open doesn't necessarily mean it's a good shot. I talked about this in the exhibition games too. There's just, when you're struggling to score, Michigan State went through a period in the first half where they were struggling, several possessions in a row where they didn't score.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to stop taking jumpers. It's just how it is.
Right.
Anybody who's ever played understands this, that you can feel it physically. You got to get to the rim, get an easy one or an easier one. Get to watch the ball go through the hoop. And then maybe you go back to the jumpers. But when it's just jumper after jumper after jumper and they're not falling, stop.
Yeah, no, you saw the same thing with Colgate. I was seeing that same thing in the second half. Michigan State had picked up the pressure and Colgate was just a little bit out of sorts. And they were a number of wide open shots, but they're all like a teeny bit rushed, not quite in rhythm. And they just were out of sync and they missed every single one of them until they finally, I think, hit a layup or something, kind of got back on the track. But you're right. It definitely makes a difference sort of where you are on the road. All right. So the fifth and final key is the perimeter defense. I think we could probably say this was not very good.
No,
they shot 39% from three. We knew they were good. I think that's why Izzo kind of pointed out Kohler and Cooper blamed them, or at least pointed out to them that they were very bad on defense. I think it's kind of unfair blaming those two guys because there were a lot of people who had trouble with the switching. I think he's kind of pointing to them because they're the seniors and the expected, leaders in defensive end. So I don't think it was like all on them, but I think, look, he uses press conferences to send messages, to try and build guys up, to do all sorts of different things, and so I think this was a message like, you both had, well, at least Kohler had a double and Cooper had 10 points or something, but you got to do more than we expect more from you, or at least as a leader.
That's right.
Make sure you communicate better.
They do deserve blame. I said we were talking about Carson. I did not think it was a great game from him. His numbers were okay. The counting numbers were okay. Look, he's a guy I think is the best defensive center in the Big Ten. So that's a high standard. He didn't play to that level tonight, and neither did Jaxon. I mean, they do need better from them. You're right. It's about more than just those guys, and you're also right. He's gonna hang it on them because he knows that they can take it. But they got to be better. There's a reality to that. He's not making it up out of whole cloth that they struggled. They did. It's just that there are other guys you could talk about too.
All right. So to sum things up for the game, I think, the Arkansas is next. I think with the number 14, the AP, they're a good team. I think they cruised today. I didn't see the final score, but they're up like 20 or 30, I think, at halftime when they showed the score up on the scoreboard. So it's going to be a big test. They got to play better than they did tonight, but we have seen some things turn around. And the thing that I think we're most concerned with was the effort level, and that certainly got fixed today. it was not for lack of effort that their defense had trouble. I don't think so. Or from the offensive end, it was just things just not executing properly. But it wasn't like they're active and they were maybe caught out of position, but they were active, moving with their hands, tipping balls away and things like that. So in that respect, I think things are moving in the right direction. Just got to clean up a few important things.
There wasn't the passivity that was a concern in those exhibition games. So that is a big step forward. Look, we'll talk about it in the preview later this week. Arkansas will present a very interesting challenge because it's a John Calipari team. They do not run sophisticated offense. So in that way, what Michigan State is going to be asked to deal with is less complex than what they dealt with tonight, for example, or against UConn, who runs very good offense, arguably probably even Bowling Green. But Arkansas has a lot of athletic ability. And so this is going to be, I think it's actually a challenge that might actually be a better one from a Michigan State perspective with where they are right now. Because I think that the things we talked about at the outset, that your communication isn't where you need it to be, the trust level isn't where it needs to be, those things may actually be less of an issue in a game like this. Arkansas, now that doesn't mean Arkansas can't win. Arkansas absolutely can win because they roll out a ton of athletic ability. They got a ton of guys with talent, but it's a different kind of challenge than this one was. And it might be one that if the Michigan State players are able to allow their considerable athleticism to just kind of unfurl and play without having to think as much, that might be better for this team at this point of the season. We'll find out.
Yeah. And I guess the only thing, boy, I had some kids. You don't have any small kids, but there were kids behind us that were so excited when Michigan State hit a free throw and got to exactly 67 for 6-7, which if you're,
I'm familiar.
You're familiar enough to know that drives people crazy.
It didn't get a lot of attention because this thing is kind of snowballed this year, or the last month or so, I think, in terms of popular attention. But Michigan State's players were doing that in press conferences last year.
Were they really? I didn't even know anything about it until real recently.
Yeah. I mean, they were doing that in press conferences last year, late last year. I don't know when this actually took flight, but they were doing it in the spring for sure.
Yeah, I know my sister, who's a sixth grade teacher. Yeah, she talks about a lot of kids. Drives all the teachers insane. So anyway, fortunately, I do not have small children, so I'm not dealing with that sort of thing. So all right. Well, I think we'll sign off there. Thanks again so much for everyone joining. Make sure again you subscribe to YouTube, hit that notification bell so you know when things happen. Also, thanks for joining us on Twitter. And then we'll be back in a couple days, unless something else happens between, but we'll be back with a preview for the Arkansas game. So until next time, the Final Four is now the schedule. Go Green.